But since we were talking about Everton, the thing that popped up in my mind, at least, was David Moyes' comments recently, because I watched that game. And I noticed that the announcers, when Anichebe scored the goal, didn't mention who passed it to him, didn't mention who. And I thought to myself, that's a decent goal, but really the guy who created it was Landon Donovan. And Moyes went on to say this after the game. He said, it was a really good goal by Anichebe, but it was created by, for me, the best player on the pitch that day in Landon Donovan. And that's what he told reporters. I thought he did great today. He put the cross in, which I thought could have been a penalty kick, and the pass that put the pass through to Victor to score the equalizer. So, it was nice to hear that David Moyes was stepping out and saying, everybody should have seen this. This guy was the best player on the field today. How did you feel about it?
That pass was bloody brilliant.
Yes.
If that should be a highlight, that should be a highlight to essentially show how good Landon Donovan is and how absolutely beautiful soccer is in America. That to me was, when I looked at it, I'm like, that's impossible. I couldn't even believe it. And I'm getting hyped up about a pass.
Yeah. Yeah.
But on Sky Sports, the English version, the commentator just said he pretty much said in roundabout words, you better wait till after the break to check out this pass from Landon Donovan. So there was some respect given to Landon Donovan on that one. Going back a couple of weeks where Landon Donovan got tripped in the box and the referee didn't, it was another game, the referee didn't call it, the commentator just said, hey, that referee needs to do his homework. Landon Donovan isn't that kind of a player. So this guy has an absolutely wonderful reputation in England, as well as a few good Americans. They have great reputations. And Moyes loves Americans.
Yes.
He was saying the same thing about Brian McBride. It was the same, Joe Max Moore, I think, at one point, I don't know. But, it just goes back. And he loves these Americans. So, at the end of the day, he's always going to be, holding Landon Donovan up to just an absolutely wonderful light.
Yeah.
That was a brilliant... that pass was... It still gives me sort of, goosebumps of what we can do, what we can show the rest of the world, how good we really are.
And that wasn't the only pass. He had a cross to Saha that, would have probably been a goal had Saha not been pushed into the goalie's net. And then I think when you mentioned Moyes, Moyes brought McBride over when he was at Preston North End. And then when he moved to Everton, he went back and he got McBride back. So, Moyes is the kind of guy who's always had his eye on the United States.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
He knows a good... Sorry, Brett.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
He knows a good thing. Everton is a club that isn't... back in the 70s and early 80s, the most exotic player was, probably from Ireland or Scotland. But, Preki was at Everton.
Yep.
Joe Max Moore. Now we got these so many... we got sort of a pipeline into the Premiership that people could very well be trialing at Everton and then possibly moving on to bigger clubs in the EPL. Before we were like, let's just get players to the EPL. Now Everton could be the stepping stone to bigger clubs in the EPL.
Yeah.
So I'm loving it.
Absolutely. So, forget Fulham. No, I'm just kidding. It's all about Everton. All right, let's get back to Tim Ream, because you said, listen, this is an average guy, an average player. He had a really rough season. I thought his rookie season was better than his second season. But I've always said that Tim Ream is the kind of player that learns from his mistakes, and he is the kind of player that I think if you take him overseas and you put him in a situation with Owen Coyle and in Bolton, that he'll improve. He will get better, and he's not going to make the same kind of mistakes over and over again. I don't know. That's my viewpoint. But
Brett, what do you got?
Come on, Brett, lay it on.
No, I think he has the ability to be a good center back. He has the technical ability that I like to see in center backs.
Good passer.
Whether or not he will pan out is to be seen. He had a pretty shady year this past season. Although then again, from what I didn't get to watch too many Red Bulls games because I'm not a huge fan, obviously.
Yeah.
But Marquez obviously didn't do him any favors a lot of the time. So just looking at he made mistakes. He'll grow from them, but I don't know how big he's going to end up being. He has the abilities to be big, but I don't know if he'll ever make it there.
Okay. So thumbs up. Thumbs up or thumbs down whether or not Tim Ream is a bust in the Premier League. I say he figures it out. Simon?
I actually fly from LA to New York once a year to watch the Red Bulls, just because it's one of my things that I do. And Tim Ream, and you can quote me on this one, absolutely sucks. And here's the funny thing. I've seen Carlos Puyol of Barcelona play on TV, and I thought, he's a great player. He's okay. He's good. But when I saw him live, he just transcended being a defender. Mm-hmm. When I saw Tim Ream play, it was like watching someone who was out of step, just didn't know what he was doing, and couldn't believe that he was in this position. To me, I have never seen a worse player, being touted as the next guy to go to Europe. It's got to be either a case of nepotism or something that he's going over there, because he's horrible. He's absolutely horrible. I mean, he literally makes the goalie behind him and the other defenders look bad. And I forget the other Creel, the guy who plays next to him. Yeah. He's freaking Rio Ferdinand compared to this guy at this point. That's how bad he is.
All right, I'm gonna take that as a thumb down.
No, it's comedy right now, because at the end of the day, the games that the New York Red Bull lost weren't because of Marquez being having a hissy fit, because Marquez had absolutely a point. The guys around me suck. What do you want me to do? That's why he was moved up a little bit, And can you imagine this guy? I mean, who are you going to pick? Tim Ream or Zach Knight playing in the back for you? Right now, there's your choice.
Well, I'd pick Zach Knight.
Zach Knight.
Yeah.
You're not going to pick Tim Ream. So my out of all this, it's like, if he goes, he's going to be beaten daily. He's going to be whipped. He's going to be absolutely the redheaded stepchild of Bolton, and I hope that he comes out better than he is now, because there isn't really much further lower you can go.
Well, so what is Owen Coyle during the trial? What is he saying, and what is Owen? Not only Owen Coyle, but West Brom was interested as well. So are they? I mean, my question is, are they just blind as bats, or what's going on here?
No, they're not blind. They're looking at this. They're looking at Bolton, West Brom, these guys are looking to be very cautious at the end of the season. So, for example, if now Bolton struggle and they get relegated, they can get rid of Zach Knight for £3.1 million, which is his market value, and they have some guy that could possibly do well after half a season of training, and that's Tim Ream. So right now you see these American guys going, to these clubs, and it's like, they're sort of saying, okay, we might just go down. This guy might be the replacement for Zach Knight or Cahill or whoever's in the center back position for Bolton. It's nothing to do with his great ability. It's just sort of damage control, just in case they go down.
Well, here's the question then: if Bolton has to pay the 2.5 to 3 million that's being reported, is it worth? Is it worth that much? Compared to, say, if they ended up selling Knight for $3 million, and basically more or less break even with a little bit of a positive kickback.
Well, Zach Knight's worth about 3.1. You can quote me on that one. Pounds. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's pounds.
So,
yeah.
So whatever Tim Ream's worth, it's a positive. It's a gain for Bolton.
Yeah.
So absolutely, and why not? If someone told me, do you think Tim Ream can hack it in the Championship? Well, more so than the Premiership. Mm-hmm. So it's a logical thing to think that the managers or the bigwigs in Bolton, that's what they're thinking.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, that's fair enough. But okay, so is it the same thing for George John? But of course he's going to Championship side, West Ham. Right. Is that a better fit, or is Tim Ream? Is he a step down from George John? Is George John a lot better than Tim Ream? And how is he going to work out at West Ham?
Well, you got to look at the manager, Sam Allardyce, who's a kick and run, route one, classic English manager, and he's looking at someone that possibly can fit in to the squad if they go up.
Yeah.
And so I'm thinking, other than Joey O'Brien on the West Ham squad, this guy is in the same level as, let's say, the George McCartneys and the and the James Tompkins of the world. There's another player that's, I think, Ghanaian, I forget his name, that he could really do well with if he plays. So maybe this is the opposite of what's going on with ball. And maybe that West Ham is thinking when we go up, if that this guy might just very well make it in the Premiership. So it could be the opposite of Tim Ream.
Yeah, and it's a loan with an option to buy, so it's not as big of a commitment as spending or spilling £3 million for Tim Ream.
I think it was like £125,000 is what the going rate is for George John right now.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's a bag of balls and a 4-pack of Guinness in my book.
Well, speaking of guys who couldn't even cut it in the championship, Kenny Cooper is moving on to the New York Red Bulls. I'm not sure why, except for when you listen to Wilkinson from Portland. These are direct quotes. They made an assessment of their future. He says, and they said Kenny Cooper just didn't cut it because they needed somebody, and I quote, more mature, more mobile, and more hard-nosed. I guess what he's kind of saying is, Kenny Cooper's 6'2", 6'3", but he's a big pussy. Is that what I'm hearing? Are you guys hearing the same thing I am hearing?
Well, I don't think I'd call that to his face.
No. I'm not 6'2", but I guess the point is that, why does a guy like Kenny Cooper get to move to the... I mean, what the hell are the New York Red Bulls going to do with Kenny Cooper?
Nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing.
This is pretty much the end, right?
Yeah. I mean, if you think about the Red Bull, the whole organization, they're not into bringing people... domestically bringing in people in that are horrible. They're into going out and finding players you've probably never heard of to strengthen the squad.
Usually Scandinavian, yeah.
Yeah, so Kenny Cooper coming in there, he's going to... It's like the last year of Valderrama, maybe. He's going to sit around and do a few things. People are going to cheer him. He's a great American, played for Manchester United, blah, blah, blah. And then he'll be swept to the NASL or he'll retire or something.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there's all the rumors behind it that they are. These are rumors for just fans of the game itself, that he's going to be basically Agudelo's replacement as he goes abroad. Even though Soler distinctly said that Agudelo's not going anywhere, but Cooper's going to be playing depth when Agudelo is off on the Olympic the qualification and the Olympics itself, assuming the U.S. get that far.
So you think he's going to play like a bit part?
I think he might be more of a super sub for depth, if at best. But a big question would be, is Luke Rogers coming back? I know he's having a work permit issues, but have we heard anything recent about it?
See, Luke Rogers, I think, and I don't want to put much stock in this guy. He came in and he sort of toughened up the team. He came in and said, that's nice. You guys are great. You got all these you got these players that, like the Marquezes of the world and the Reams of the world. But he toughened it up. He brought sort of that championship toughness to the squad, and I mean you can remember that during the playoffs against LA. But he also was very much a team player. He went out and defended Marquez and said, "This guy's the best guy on the pitch. Mm-hmm. This guy is a leader on the pitch. There's got to be a reason why he's saying it, and there's got to be a reason why he's being so open about it, so blatant about it. Let's address it." Yeah. So I think he's very much a great sort of locker room kind of player, and the Red Bull, in my opinion, should very well try to get everything resolved with his work permits and all that stuff to get him in, because I think he can really do well, not only as a player on the pitch, but someone that can really cement the team spirit or the whole idea of team for the Red Bull.
Yeah. And it's nice to hear you defend Marquez, because I unpopularly did that during the season, and it's not a popular position to take. No. But one thing I would say is, just looking at these quotes from Wilkinson, you get to the assumption that Luke Rogers would probably beat the living hell out of Kenny Cooper's ass, and he's 5'9"? But he plays like a bulldog. You got to love a guy like that.